Today, cryptocurrencies face another day of losses. House Democrats call on the EPA to investigate proof-of-work's energy use, and New York considers a moratorium on Bitcoin mining. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Digital currencies are trading lower yet again. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin traded right around the $39,000 level. Ether traded around $2,900, and Cardano was worth about 90 cents. Okay, on to the top stories. First, Binance is denying that it handed over user data to Russian officials. Reuters reported that the world's largest crypto exchange built ties with the Russian financial intelligence unit known as Rosfin. Now, the report found that Binance's head of Eastern Europe and Russia said that he, quote, didn't have much choice in the matter. In a blog post, Binance denied that it had any special ties to Russia and said that any government can request user data so long as it has proper legal authority. Next, a New York State lawmaker wants to make rug pulls a crime. State Senator Kevin Thomas introduced a bill that would create a legal framework for crypto-related crimes. Now, some of the protections include sharing or using someone's private keys without consent and preventing developers from selling more than 10% of a token within 5 years from the last sale. Finally, a growing list of U.S. congressmen are calling for the EPA to investigate the environmental effects of crypto mining. Around 24 lawmakers sent a letter to the agency asking it to ensure that mining companies were in compliance with the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts. Now, lawmakers specifically criticized digital tokens that rely on proof-of-work consensus mechanisms. For our main story, we're keeping a close eye on the New York State Assembly, which is set to vote on a bill that could place a 2-year moratorium on proof-of-work mining, citing environmental concerns. Now, the bill has faced fierce criticism from the crypto industry, which says that the ban isn't unlike the crackdown that miners already faced in China last year. They also say that New York State could face the same brain drain that China faced as well. Now, the bill still faces a few key hurdles before it becomes law, but we spoke to Perianne Boring of the Chamber of Digital Commerce about how these types of legislation, whether or not they pass, could drive crypto talent elsewhere. So how real is the concern for energy use by proof-of-work mines, specifically in New York State?
So the transition to sustainable energy is an important mandate for New Yorkers, and that is where the energy for this bill has come from. However, we believe that Bitcoin mining and proof-of-work mining has the potential to lead the global transition to more sustainable energy. And as you may know, in the state of New York, they've recently passed what's called the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act to aggressively fight climate change. Now, the Bitcoin mining industry is actually leading in terms of compliance with that act, in terms of all energy industries. The sustainable energy mix of the global Bitcoin mining industry today is estimated to be just under 60% globally. Now, for the Chamber of Digital Commerce, for our members that are mining in the state of New York, we estimate that that number is closer to 80% today, an 80% sustainable electricity mix. So if New York, if their mandate, this is the question I have. If they're looking to move towards climate neutrality, which they are, why would the Assembly single out this one small but growing and promising industry of digital assets that is leading in terms of sustainable industry practices? So there absolutely are political motives behind this bill, and more understanding needs to be done before a flat-out moratorium is passed into law.
Now, regardless of the bill's passage, what impacts will this type of legislation have on New York's ability to compete in the crypto industry? Will it, for example, cause talent to flee the state or avoid it altogether?
This would have dire consequences for the digital asset ecosystem and the state of New York. And remember, making the United States a global leader in blockchain technology was a mandate set by President Biden. He just signed an executive order into law, setting out a process to do just that. And this bill would be contrary to that. Further, blockchain has been added to the list of critical and emerging technologies in the United States. Coming back specifically to the state of New York, Bitcoin mining operations are providing great jobs for local communities. One of our members, their average pay is $80,000 a year. There are many unions, labor unions, who are against this bill because it could have dire economic consequences. But more importantly, it has the potential to stifle the transition to more sustainable industry practices.
Now, New York is often a leader in these types of legislation. We saw House Democrats call on the EPA to investigate the environmental impacts of crypto mining just last week. Do you expect more of these bills to pop up in states or even nationally?
That is absolutely our concern. New York is absolutely a leader when it comes to state legislation, which is why we have a team on the ground fighting against this bill to make sure this doesn't lead to a copycat issue where you have other states following suit. We are encouraging members to look at the data. For example, in 2020, just last year, proof of work digital asset mining was estimated to use 188 terawatts of power. That's about 0.1% of global energy consumption, a tenth of a percent. So, what would this bill actually do to reduce emissions? It would not put a dent in it. But the bigger issue is that it could potentially stifle innovation and investments into renewable energy, which the Bitcoin mining industry is leading.
So right now, the US is the #1 mining destination by a mile with respect to Bitcoin mining specifically. But if these types of bills take hold, what does that mean for its status as a mining leader? Where do these companies and experts go next?
Bitcoin miners are incentivized to go where the electricity is cheapest, which is why there is such a high concentration of renewable energy used to mine Bitcoin today. If the if the United States, if more states followed suit and had an aggressive stance against proof of work mining, this at the end of the day is a digital ecosystem, and it will move where it is most welcome. Mining is the infrastructure to blockchains, and I cannot stress how critical it is that these operations for national security and economic security reasons are happening on US soil. We should be embracing this technology. And just one further point, the Assembly has already passed a bill that would conduct a study on proof of work blockchains and mining operations and its impact in the state of New York. The stakes are super high. This is a new and emerging ecosystem. We should understand it first. Let's support this bill that would create a study. Let's conduct the study, understand its findings, and then take action, not just push forward for a moratorium without fully understanding its consequences.
Okay, before we go, we want to remind you that you can find that full interview and a whole lot more over at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. That's all for today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.